Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we are going to take care a little bit of our little Phalaenopsis that participated voluntarily in the Lechuza pon experiment. If you missed the initial video, I'll link it to it down below, or you can search for it yourself since you can see the title on the screen. But as a small recap, I decided to try out the actual orchid-intended self-watering pots from Lechuza, which are, I guess, a new addition to their collection, together with their new and improved Orchidpon. Yes, it's not pon, it's Orchidpon, and yes, they advertise you can use it entirely, not like as a bottom layer or anything of the sorts. You can use it like this, like I'm showing you now. And well, if you saw my intermediate update on the situation, you might already know I'm not very happy with how things turned out. So today we are going to unpot this orchid from this little mess here, and I'm just gonna tell you my final thoughts and findings and what I suspect is happening with my orchid, which is not happy right here. So I hope you'll enjoy today's video and hanging out with me. If you do, don't forget to give this video a like. It really helps it out, and why not subscribe? I post multiple times a week. Right. Let me bring on the other Phalaenopsis and talk a little bit about them, and let's just get started with what I don't like about the setup. Alrighty, so I started the experiment with two Phalaenopsis. Somebody pointed out that they are not very healthy. Yes, they are recovering. They obviously look like that. This is why I chose them for this test in the first place. Would you have rather me used my super healthy and luscious looking Phalaenopsis that I worked so hard to maintain pest-free and in good condition and not set back? Well, that's too bad, because it ain't happening. I'm not using those beautiful orchids for my weird experiments. That's why I did choose these. But this didn't really impact this experiment because they are producing roots. They're not rootless and dehydrated and on the verge of giving up on life. They're actually recovering, which is quite the difference between an orchid which is super sick and an orchid which is on its way to full recovery. And the outcome of this has nothing to do with the state of health of these orchids. Right, so first thing I don't like, obviously, the pots. They are very big and bulky and just unnecessary, particularly if you have issues with space. I did give it that. They are very stylish, but I can see them as centerpieces on a table. Maybe not with orchids, to be fully honest, maybe with a different plant, and I will use them with a different plant, maybe a hanging Hoya. Why not? I like self-watering pots, but definitely for orchids and for Phalaenopsis orchids, they're a little bit awkward because you can see phals lean forward, they put their roots pretty much everywhere, and the roots will only go up rather than drape nicely along the pot like I showed you in my intermediate update. So the shape is not for me, but hey, this is a taste thing. You might actually like the shape and the design of these pots, but I find it a little clunky. Then the big deal was with the pon. Now, in the past, 3 or 4 years ago, I did try the pon, the normal pon, not the Orchidpon, with some orchids, and I wasn't happy with the results. I had a lot of leaf tip dieback, which can be a sign of too much fertilizer with some orchids. Anyway, I gave it up. Pon was not for me, but recently they did come up with Orchidpon, and well, it didn't work out that great either, because given how very robust Phalaenopsis orchid roots are, they still got pretty burned when they came in contact with the pon at the surface. Inside the pot, they grow. I cannot say if they're the happiest, to be fully honest, and I do see some blackened tips even inside. So as the medium dries out, which in my opinion it should, we are dealing with epiphytic plants here, so they should be left to dry out even in self-watering pots. So when that happens, I do see the tips didn't like it. So there are, or actually there were, two theories. Either we're dealing with efflorescence, which is something that happens with porous surfaces. Ceramis has it happening, Leca has it happening. These volcanic rocks, absolutely, they have it happening. So maybe I had some efflorescence, but see, I doubt it, because I did have efflorescence with the Leca and nothing actually burned anything, because those salts, even if dried, they weren't very hygroscopic. I presume they weren't thirsty, quote unquote, enough to pull the water out of the roots. I did have a very shockingly similar case with a fertilizer I tried 6 years ago, many years ago. I had the exact same thing happening. So I think it's the amount or the type of fertilizer fertilizer used with the pon. I still personally, as a grower, prefer potting mixes that are not fertilized because I like to customize what type of fertilizer I am using, how I dose it, the method, and so on and so forth. So from this point of view, yeah, it didn't work out so great, hence why I'm going to repot it today. Now, in the second pot, this did not happen. The roots just grow perfectly fine inside the medium, just like in any other of my pots. I have growing roots inside. What I don't like about it is, again, something I've foreseen, the amount of algae. Because see, the lip is transparent. This is white. There is nothing to block the light. I'm not going to continue growing this orchid in this pot due to the algae issue. I find that in this environment, when they get really excessive or when I start having cyanobacteria, it's when the roots again start to become affected. And not only the roots, even stems. I had it happening with a jewel orchid. So this is coming out of here, and this pot again will be used with soils. Soils are dark, they don't have so many air pockets. Algae don't form all that easily with soils, and even if they do, it's not really as bad as an airy orchid mix, in my experience. So both of these orchids are coming out of the pots. But at least when it comes to Orchidpon, I don't think I'm gonna be using it. I don't like it quite at all. I find it to be too fine, even for orchids with finer roots like, I don't know, Miltoniopsis. And Miltoniopsis do actually have slightly more sensitive roots, so I might be tempted to use this pon with other plants. You will see people using the Orchidpon with other types of plants, apparently successfully. I am not in the room with them, I just see what you guys see. So apparently it works out. So I might be tempted to try it out with other plants, but honestly, it is not the type of experiment that gets me really excited about. There are posts or videos on the internet about it. I'm not gonna give you this brand new, never seen information. So again, no incentive to try it out. I might at some point, but when I'm not really interested in something, I'm gonna slack with it. What I'm very interested in doing is unpot this orchid ASAP. Oh, before we do that, let's address the redness, because I know it's gonna be a question. So this red-purple tinge is actually a pigment called anthocyanin, which amongst other things has a role in protecting plants from intense light. Under certain light intensities, some orchids will be redder than others, and especially when it comes to Phalaenopsis, being that they are such complex hybrids, mainly on the market, you cannot really know what species they have in their parentage. So, given strong light, be it natural or artificial, it doesn't have to be grow lights, by the way, it can be kitchen lights. Some Phalaenopsis will go purple, others will stay green. Since this is a very, very common thing to happen and has happened to me many times, I'm not going to associate the pon with the redness on this orchid. With that said, let's get to unpotting, and let me show you I got myself a brand new potting tray. Ta-da! Look at that. It's a big tray, hoping it's gonna look good on camera. I purchased it locally since I live in Cyprus. You know, 99.9% of you will not be helped if I tell you where. But if you search potting tray on Amazon, you'll find something similar. Right. So I cannot squeeze on the pot, I'm just going to tilt it, and yeah, well, that wasn't very hard because the roots are not very attached to anything. Oh, it doesn't smell good. Alrighty, so I do have, yeah, quite a few roots that need removing, and we did start out with good roots. Oh, the smell. Oh, I don't like it. I wanted to actually talk as I do this, but I don't want to inhale. I'm actually gonna go find a mask. Oh, wow. Very dusty. All right. Wow. Okay, that was unexpected. Like, I could literally feel how I was starting to get choked and like my sinuses started to slightly burn a little bit. Oh, wow. So if you insist on trying this out, maybe give it a rinse. I don't think you're gonna rinse out the fertilizer because, as I can see, the fertilizer is actually slow release beads like this, so it's not in the dust. The fertilizer is not in the dust. Right, so the typical deal, you guys, my bark and moss mixture that I easily find available, and that works out great for me. Oops. And the typical mess. Almost. I thought she would land on me. No. Oh no. Oh no. Brr, why did you come to poop on my camera? Joey just took the biggest poop of life on my camera right now. I had to take a break and clean it up. Oh, brother. What to do? Happy accidents happen. I will actually use slow release fertilizer, just like I use with all of my orchids, and I do have the products that I use listed down below in the description if you're interested. Alrighty, so with that said, thank you so much for watching. Hope you found this interesting. I'll share with you down below the initial video and the intermediate update. This is the final chapter in the saga, so I hope you've enjoyed this little review. And if you have opinions of your own and experiences of your own with the Orchidpon, let us know down below in the comments. So with that said, if you want to find me on social media, just search for me. I am at MissOrchidGirl, but most importantly, subscribe to this channel for regular plant videos multiple times a week. So with that said, hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!